Ryu could become the future Source Dragon of Balance, and at this point, Dragon's Rising has placed way too many clues around him for that to be ignored. Because when you actually look at Ryu's story throughout the series, there are a lot of things connecting him directly to the Source Dragon of Balance. And the more Ryu evolves, the more connections becomes obvious. His design and the way characters react to him, Ryu has always felt different from every other dragon in Dragon's Rising. He was never treated like a normal side character, or just a companion dragon for Eren and Sora. From the beginning, the show kept placing importance around him, without fully explaining why. After everything we know about the Source Dragons, it's starting to feel like Ryu's role in the story is much bigger than we first thought, especially after the reveal that the original Source Dragon of Balance is dead. That single reveal completely changes how we look at Ryu, because once the Source Dragon of Balance was confirmed to be gone, it immediately raised a much bigger question. If the Source Dragon of Balance no longer exists, then who is supposed to take his place? And what happened to the elemental powers that are connected to that Source Dragon? The similarities between Ryu and the Source Dragon of Balance are becoming hard to ignore. One of the biggest examples is the horn structure on Ryu's newer design. The placement and overall shape looks extremely similar to the Balance Dragon, and in a show like Ninjago, design choices like that are usually intentional, especially when it comes to dragons connected to ancient power. Even Ryu's color palette feels connected to the Balance Dragon. The colors surrounding Ryu's energy and design line up closely with the symbol associated with the Source Dragon of Balance. And now that Ryu's newer form includes more golden features, it feels like he's slowly evolving into something far more powerful. And the important thing here is that Ryu still doesn't fully feel developed yet. Every time we see him evolve, it feels less like he's reaching his final form, and more like he's moving one step closer towards it. Almost like Dragon's Rising is slowly building him over time, instead of revealing everything all at once. That also explains why Ryu's powers have always seemed unusual. Ever since he first appeared, Ryu has shown abilities that go way beyond what normal dragons usually do. One of the biggest examples is how his energy was able to strengthen Sora's elemental abilities, something that's not normal for regular dragons. Source dragons are deeply tied to elemental energy itself, and Ryu already showing signs of influencing elemental powers makes him stand out immediately. It feels like there's something inside him that hasn't fully awakened yet. When we connect that idea with the timeline surrounding the Source Dragon of Balance, the theory starts making even more sense, because the timing is incredibly suspicious. The original Source Dragon of Balance died around the same area Ryu appeared. That connection alone already feels intentional, but when you combine it with everything else surrounding Ryu, it becomes very difficult to believe that this is all a coincidence. Especially because Dragon's Rising keeps placing Ryu at the center of important storylines. Even Lord Rez seemed to understand early on that Ryu was special, and that's something people don't talk about enough. Rez didn't target Ryu for no reason. From the very beginning, he treated Ryu like something important, almost like he already knew there was hidden potential inside him that hasn't been unlocked yet. That completely changes how those earlier scenes look, because maybe Rez was never interested in Ryu simply because he needed his dragon energy to fuel Imperium. Because Ryu is a small dragon, so if he wasn't special, he wouldn't have lots of energy to use like bigger dragons. Maybe Rez understood that Ryu was connected to something much larger. That would explain why he kept going after him so aggressively, despite Ryu still being young and inexperienced. At that time, Res may have already known that Ryu was connected to the future Source Dragons, since it seems like Res's master knows a lot about the Source Dragons and things that will happen in the future. The Source Dragon of Energy, when first meeting Ryu, said, "You are a very special creature." A Source Dragon wouldn't say that about a normal dragon. He is definitely special. The Source Dragons even talk about Lloyd that way, and he is a legendary green ninja, also not a normal human. And then there's probably the biggest clue of them all, the statement that Ryu's ultimate aspiration is to become the Source Dragon of Balance. It came out of a book. While not every Ninjago book is canon, for them to already think of that idea might mean something. Dragon's Rising could have described Ryu's future in countless different ways, but instead, they directly tied him to the Source Dragon of Balance itself. It feels less like a random detail from an uncanon book, and more like direct foreshadowing for where Ryu's story is eventually heading. And it would fit perfectly with the overall story of Dragon's Rising. The merge completely changed the world of Ninjago. Realms collided, balance across the universe was destroyed, and chaos spread everywhere. Ever since the beginning of Dragon's Rising, the world has felt unstable, which is why Ryu becoming the next Source Dragon of Balance would make so much sense for the ending of his area, because Ryu's character has always represented connection. He naturally brings people together, and even his relationship with characters like Eren and Sora feel important to the larger theme of the story. He almost feels like a bridge between different worlds, and after the merge shattered reality apart, that kind of role became incredibly important, which is why Ryu eventually stepping into the role of the Source Dragon of Balance feels like something Dragon's Rising has been slowly building towards for a long time, not through one massive reveal, but through smaller clues spread across the entire series. The design similarities between Ryu and the Source Dragon of Balance already suggest some kind of connection between them. Then you add Ryu's unusual elemental energy, his evolution into stronger forms, the golden dragon-like features appearing over time, and the fact that powerful characters immediately recognize his importance, and all of those clues together make it seem obvious that this was planned from the beginning. Ryu is not just another dragon growing stronger over time, he may actually be evolving into the next Source Dragon of Balance itself. Whatever that means, reincarnation, inheritance, or simply taking over the role after the original dragon died, the result still leads in the same direction. Ryu becoming one of the most powerful beings in Dragon's Rising. We probably still haven't seen his true potential yet, because if Ryu really is connected to the Source Dragon of Balance, then everything we've seen so far could just be the beginning of his evolution. His future form could become much larger, much more powerful, and more connected to elemental energy than everything we've seen from him already. And with every new appearance, Dragon's Rising keeps making him look more and more important, especially with the newer forms adding more ancient dragon traits and stronger visual similarities to the Source Dragons. It generally feels like the series is preparing Ryu for something huge later on. And one thing that also feels increasingly likely is Ryu eventually learning how to speak. That would also make perfect sense if he truly evolves into a Source Dragon level being. Other ancient dragons in Ninjago are capable of communicating, especially dragons connected to higher intelligence and stronger elemental energy. So if Ryu eventually reaches that level, hearing him finally speak could become one of the biggest moments in Dragon's Rising, because that moment would completely confirm that Ryu was never just a normal dragon from the start. Everything surrounding him already points towards a much bigger destiny. The similarities between Ryu and the Source Dragon of Balance feel too specific to be accidental, and Dragon's Rising keeps adding more evidence connecting the two. And if this theory really does become reality later in the series, then looking back, the signs were there the entire time. Ryu wasn't introduced to become a simple companion dragon. He was introduced to become something far greater. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.